He gets a reaction from the crowd, and then he goes,
"You dumb Kyrie."
Wondering why Chris was seemingly going off on the audience? Here's why.
I was filming your brother's set, and he was like, I'm not having him, and he walked off.
Well, the consequences seem to now be at the door, and Chris just can't handle them.
Sometimes I wasn't kind, and sometimes I wasn't.
Making a living out of saying some of the most controversial things in the world comes with fame and money, but the price is just as steep, and Chris Rock seems to be finding that out the hard way after his recent public appearance. Will Rock be able to dig himself out of this new hole? Or is this finally the end of the road for his career?
His opening monologue, he made some really provocative statements and jokes.
The famous comedian has been facing endless backlash from netizens after a recent appearance where the comic, who's gotten away with saying some of the wildest things, including using some extreme slurs, was allegedly called out by the crowd. Rock didn't appear to like the reaction he was getting and seemingly left the show. Several people who were present at the event reportedly admitted that his abrupt exit was due to the reaction he'd been getting from the crowd because of the things he said. Other sources allege that it was tied to a recent scandal with the comic's name at the center. We all know Chris Rock isn't exactly one to stay completely out of scandalous situations, but these new allegations might represent a new high for the man, as his own audience seems to have been where he got his rude awakening.
Did you think Chris Rock went too far?
No, see, social media is crazy, right?
Okay.
Because here's the thing about social media. Social media have put ignorant people and kids at the table of grown folks' conversation.
Yeah. It's been all fans have been going on about all over social media, with more people asking exactly what he said that was the last straw in his long history of offensive jokes. It seems the event where Rock was last spotted prevented people from taping it, and that has left a distorted image of what actually happened at the scene. Many believe it stemmed from an inappropriate joke Rock made, because although he's well known for making those types of comments, the comedian might have stepped a bit too far past the line in his latest appearance, and it's allegedly landed him in hot water. Will this put his career in danger? Or will he find a way out of it like he's done in the past? Seeing as all the times he's gotten out of trouble in the past hasn't exactly come as a breeze, people are saying there might not be a clear path for him out of this one. However, before the answers to these questions can be found, we need to understand what actually led to the most recent outrage about his controversial nature. We already know it's related to a joke, but when you hear that joke, you might start to understand why it may ring big trouble for the comedian.
All Pelosi, the only guy that knows how I felt, all right?
Christ Rock has been the only name everyone has been talking about on the internet for the past few hours, in the wake of the comic singularly becoming a trending topic after he shocked fans during a recent performance. Although comedians tend to pull some of the craziest stunts, it seems Chris's recent move wasn't met with the usual reaction. Rock made headlines this week after he stormed out of billionaire Anthony Pratt's recent Christmas party, which he had been booked to perform. The 59-year-old comedian was reportedly in the middle of his stand-up set when he saw something in the audience that upset him. He then shouted something into the audience before forcefully making his way through the crowd to the exit doors. Columnist Cindy Adams wrote about the incident for the New York Post. Adams said Rock shouted that he wasn't supposed to be taped, videoed, reported, or whatever else wasn't supposed to happen. The comedian then barreled quickly, forcefully through people to the exit doors. Without a second's hesitation, he stormed out, never to return. Hours later, news outlets have now learned from a source close to Rock that he left because someone was filming his set. The source further denied other outlets' reports, including the Daily Mail's, that Rock cut his set short because there were children in the audience and his routine was not suitable for young people. However, the story on the internet is slightly different. It seems several netizens believe the true reason Chris left was because he'd made some inappropriate jokes that might have been caught on camera. The situation expectedly gained major headline traction, with several people lending their voices to the fight against controversial jokes, as they seem to believe it to be why Rock stormed off. One person wrote, "I personally believe there are certain things you can't joke about. You can't just get away saying certain things, then hide behind the fact that it's a joke." A second user, who was seemingly in agreement, wrote, "He literally would have been fine without doing all that, because now it looks worse if we're going to make a joke like that. Just own it and apologize later if you get backlash. With these comments, no one actually knows if they are the thoughts of people who were at the event or just those of random users on the internet, but their views give an apt description of the public opinion on Chris Rock at the moment. His family members, on the other hand, do not seem to share these sentiments, as the narrative to them seems to match what was reported about Rock's exit, particularly his brother, who spoke on the subject hours ago.
Invested in some bigwig in Australia.
Yeah.
That since he was invited to the party, he was entitled to tape the set.
Yeah.
But just so you guys know, everybody that does that in a comedy club,
Right.
we're working on material all the time. So if you
Chris Rock's brother is standing his ground. Speaking with TMZ, Tony Rock offered a defense for his brother once he learned what allegedly went down after informing the tabloid that he was unaware of the controversy. He probably thought because my brother was performing at a shindig, that since he was invited to the party, he was entitled to tape the set. Just so you guys know, everybody that does that at a comedy club is a effing A. The 50-year-old comedian continued to explain, "We're working on material all the time, so if you record it and put it up before the joke is perfected, it's like a chef giving you a plate of food before it's finished. It's like buying a car before they're done making it. You should wait for the finished product."
buying a car before they're done making it.
Right.
You should wait for the finished product.
Right.
But that guy probably felt entitled because he's a piece of shit.
Tony went on to suggest that the person alleged to have been taping the show likely felt entitled due to his poor character. Talking about the person's thought process, Tony said, "I'll record this set because I'm at this party, I was invited, and you're performing here." But Tony's perspective wasn't entirely just focused on how a member of the audience may or may not have been taping the event. He also touched on the part fans have been talking nonstop about, which is the issue of Chris making inappropriate jokes. Tony spoke about how the dynamics of race play a role in these situations, noting that when it involves black and white people, some might assume they have the right to act however they want because a black comedian is making the jokes. He didn't mince words, ultimately calling the person who was allegedly taping disrespectful. A few fans agreed with Tony's point of view, and they were also as loud with their views on social media. The user wrote, "No, they don't want filming because they don't want their set to leak and ruin it for everyone that is going to their concerts." Tony's reaction was surprising to several fans because only about 2 months ago, word had spread that things weren't peachy between the brothers after Tony spilled some tea about his exclusion from his brother's movies. The comic recently appeared on the Green Room podcast alongside comedian Aries Spears. The conversation found its way to Tony's brother, Chris, with Spears asking him why he hasn't appeared in more of Rock's films.
The Chris didn't do as much for me,
Right.
which is what I wanted.
Okay.
But that, I'm gonna do everything I can
Yeah,
for Jordan.
The younger brother got candid about his experience of working with his bro in the industry, saying, "I am going to try to explain to you guys. I am not saying it is going to make sense. But my brother, he's a businessman when it comes to movies," adding that Chris would tend to go with bigger names in an effort to sell the movie to a wider audience. This, he could understand. However, the All of Us actor also recalled feeling crushed that he was not featured in Rock's film Top 5 after his brother invited him to be a part of the flick, but failed to follow up. After hearing word of the film going into production from friends on set, Tony realized that his brother forgot all about his offer. 2 months in, I get a effing phone call that says, "Yo, you at the rap party? We here." That S crushed me. I have never seen the movie Top 5. Tony added that he didn't ask for the part because he's asked Chris for 5 favors my whole life. He said no every time, and I swore on everything I loved I would never ask him for anything for as long as I live. Rock's comments arrived 2 years after he publicly rode for his brother after Will Smith slapped him at the Oscars. Outlets reported at the time that Tony had taken a couple of shots at Smith in favor of his brother, asserting that he would beat Smith up. Speaking of, the Everybody Hates Chris actor has mostly remained out of the spotlight since he was infamously attacked during the 2022 Oscars. However, the comic proved that he didn't need anyone fighting his battles for him when he aimed shots at Will directly himself, which took him out of hiding. The Top 5 actor released his Netflix special Selective Outrage in March 2023. In the special, Rock addressed the Oscar slap, quipping, "Will Smith practices selective outrage because everybody knows what the F happened. I didn't have any entanglements. Will Smith's wife was effing her son's friend, okay? Normally I would not talk about that, but for some reason, they put that on the internet. We've all been cheated on. None of us have ever been interviewed by the person we cheated on television. She hurt him way more than he hurt me. His remarks were about a 2020 episode of Jada Pinkett Smith's Facebook watch show, Red Table Talk, in which she sat down with her husband to discuss her affair with R&B singer August Alsina. Although Chris manages to mostly stay out of trouble, the problem with him is that when he does get in trouble, it's usually the worst kind. In fact, this is far from the first time Chris has been caught up in conversations about getting canceled. The comic himself has also spoken about it and how problematic he believes it to be. Back in 2021, Rock led the backlash against cancel culture, insisting it was disrespecting audiences and responsible for a rise in unfunny entertainment. The 59-year-old comedian told Power 105.1's The Breakfast Club that the real fear of getting canceled has made people become safe. And when everyone gets safe and nobody tries anything, things get boring. He told the New York stations Angela Yee and DJ Envy. I see a lot of unfunny comedians, I see unfunny TV shows, I see unfunny award shows, I see unfunny movies, because everybody's scared to make a move, he said. He said it was particularly pointless to target comedians because they already face the ultimate cancel of their jokes failing. You don't really have to cancel us because we get the message. They're not laughing. When we do something and people aren't laughing, we get it, he said. Those words have aged like fine wine as we've hit a full circle moment with the news of the comedian now getting canceled hitting the headlines in 2024. Is this the universe's way of telling him it could happen to anybody? Or did Chris really just go too far on this one? Although several comics already consider getting canceled as a job hazard in their line of work, Chris Rock's new situation might be where the line gets drawn for everyone in that industry. Still, do tell us what you think his fate will be after this blows over. That's it, goodbye.